Hi everybody, Lowdown Sally here. As promised, here's a tutorial on gag training strategies. The best piece of advice I can give you for gag training is always train where there is an invasion in progress. I know what you're going to say, but Sally, how do I know where there is an invasion? Well, there's a very handy website called Toontown Webinfo that you can find at this link right here. Click on the Invasion Table tab and you can see where all the invasions are. Now, Webinfo is also software you can put on your computer to automatically get alerts when an invasion starts. However, I'm not telling you to download it. You can if you want, but it's not necessary to have in order to use the Invasion Table feature, and neither myself nor the owner of the program can be held responsible if your account gets suspended because of it. Now, if you have lower level gags, I'd recommend waiting until a smaller cog invasion is called. You'll stay alive longer and your gags will work better. Many groups call invasions for hours at a time. Chances are you'll notice invasions being called one after the other in the same district for a while. Once you've worked your gags up to level 4 or 5, which can be done pretty quickly, you should start thinking about going into buildings. Why? Your gag points will be increased. Here's a simple chart to show how. As you can see, on the 5th floor of any given cog building, your gag experience triples. Now, if there's an invasion on top of that, you will get 6 times the normal amount of gag points on the top floor. That means 1 cream pie would give you 30 gag points. It's usually helpful if you go in with 1 or 2 other toons who also need to train gags, perhaps by organizing a group of friends together who need to work similar gags. Or a combination. Maybe you need to work lure and a friend trap, or you need to work squirt and a friend drop. Those gags go together nicely. If possible, you should save your biggest gags for the top floor in order to get the most points. But that doesn't mean you should hoard them if your team is in a pickle. Obviously, if the entire team dancing is going to take priority over a few gag points. Okay, now that I've covered the general tips, I'd like to get into some specifics. Let's start with training tune-up. Tune-up is a bit tricky to work. This is the only gag track where you absolutely need other toons with you. My best recommendation for this is to go with another friend into a building to train gags, and when you're on the top floor, hold a few cogs. Have your friend bicorn and you pass. The next round, you tune up and they bicorn again. Just repeat until you're out of gags or the cogs die. Remember, I said with a friend. Don't go into battles and play badly just so other toons get hurt. Now let's talk about training trap. Another tricky gag track. When you work this gag, you tend to lose laugh quickly by yourself. You'll be better off training this in a group with buildings, preferably with someone working lure. Now, if you're a lureless daredevil, you're definitely going to need to find someone training lure to work with. And it may take a bit longer than normal, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. Moving on to lure. This is probably one of the easiest tracks to train. Just take as much lure as you can hold, a bunch of bicorns or cupcakes, and go out onto the streets. Lure the cog and wake it up with a cupcake. Repeat until you're out of laugh or you're out of gags. It's very important to wake the cog up and not just pass until the cog wakes up by itself, because if the cog wakes up by itself, you won't get any gag credit for that lure. Okay, sound. Sound is another easy gag track to train. Just take as much sound as you can carry, go out onto the streets by yourself, and sound away. Of course, you should always carry some tune-up with you, and a few bigger gags in case more toons join or the battle gets a little out of control. Throw and squirt. Not really any special tips here, although toons training squirt may want to partner up with drop trainers. And that brings us to drop. Drop is pretty difficult to train by yourself since it misses so much. The best thing you can do is to team up with toons training squirt or other toons training drop and take turns stunning. Well, that covers the specifics. Finally, I'd like to say this. If you go into factories, mints, district of attorney offices, COD golf courses or boss battles expecting to train your gags, you've got another thing coming. The Toons aren't going to like that. So use your gags wisely and make sure your team's safety always comes before your gag points. So that's the lowdown. See ya, Toons!